entre los individuos como entre las naciones, el respeto del derecho al derecho ajeno es la paz. Well, there you have it. This is Querétaro, laid out in miniature. A tremendous feat, I would say. The city itself is a World Historic Site, and as we saw yesterday in the art museums, the thing that struck me about, we were in the art museum yesterday, there's 17th century paintings from El Greco and various people, right, from that movement. And just being reminded once again that all of Europe and all of European culture, including here in the Americas, right, such as European culture infiltrated here and obviously was very prominent in all of the Spanish Empire. All of Europe was completely and totally submerged in a dream about Christ and the influence that this dream had on everything to do with European culture for 1,000 years. Nietzsche commented on this, but just the reminder once again that this was everybody's preoccupation, was Christ and how to be Christ-like, and entire wings of the gallery totally devoted to the painting of saints and the rendering of biblical scenes and the tremendous skill that artists applied in trying to render over and over and over again this singular story, the passion of the Christ, the death on the cross and the resurrection, etc., etc. And two things about that. In the first place, that other mythologies own the exact same dynamics of death and rebirth, right? That you see that. It's, as the great Joseph Campbell pointed out again and again, right? It was not unique to Christianity, not at all. But that Christian mythology really clung to that as if they had created it, as if they owned it, right? As if it was theirs and theirs alone. Interesting.
The truth is, giving yourself an international lifestyle just isn't that tough, and it makes more sense now than ever before. International diversification is freedom insurance. If you want to know how I've done it for my family and how you can do it for yours for a lot less than you think, please subscribe, like, comment, and share with folks you care about.
But the second piece, of course, is that all cultures, and the more successful you are as a society and as a cultural belief system, the more true this is and the more difficult it is to navigate. But all cultures run into the need to evolve. When you're successful, you think, well, this is how we've done it before, and right, this is our tradition, this is how we do it, this is how we did it before, it's good enough, we'll keep doing it over and over again. And of course, that's never true, but people cling to that, and so that the challenge, the difficulty is always the same. What do we get rid of from our past, and how do we evolve so we don't get left behind, and what do we cling to, right, and hold on to as a kind of rock in the storm of evolution and progress and all the various things that come just from being alive, right? And as your culture ages, this debate can get quite vicious. What we're living through now is a cultural revolution in the West where the decision has been made to give up most of the most important things, like most of the really important things about Western individuality. Individuality itself has become a bad word, and in part it's because of the inability to evolve the concept correctly in a positive way. It's like we're going to throw out all individuality and just promote collectivism. You can see it. You can see it. You can hear people arguing for it as if it's a good and smart and proper thing to do. And I would argue that that's not going to work very well. And that without a doubt, right, one of the best things that we had going for us and that we have going for us is dynamic individualism. But individualism has gone rotten, as you can see, right? The very concept that, well, I'm such an individual that if I want to have a fantasy about my gender, then everybody has to pretend that it's true. Like, fuck you. And so the inability to evolve this concept of individuality is a big, big problem for the West right now. We don't know how to get past it. And I think until it's argued and I think until the pushback comes from the philosophical realm, that there's an actual argument philosophically about why this new bastardization of individuality is wrong, is the wrong way to think of individuality, that you don't get to impose your individuality on other people. The idea was that you're allowed to do whatever you want to do and be a free individual so long as you don't take away other people's right to do what they want to do. And so, for whatever reason, gender and sexuality have become the major battlegrounds for this topic of individuality. There's a really excellent book, a bit repetitive, but I think he's on it. He really nails the point. I think he's correct. Called The Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self, on the evolution of the Western psyche. And other cultures in the world do not have this problem. They have clung correctly to their past traditions. The United States and other Western countries that are caught up in this nonsense are, by and large, like a giant wave that has finally crested and is now falling over and breaking on itself, right? The swell came and it was a tremendous wave to ride, and being born in the US was like winning the lottery in the last 40, 50 years, but well, the last 200 years maybe. But no longer, right? It's a real problem. It's a real issue. It's a real liability, right, to be caught up in this kind of cultural combat. And so part of the point of these videos is to really try to give, especially for young people, it must be very difficult, right, to sort all this out if you're a young person. Get to literature. This is where you're going to find the answers to these problems. The wisdom of the ages, 4,000 plus years, is all contained in books. You'll never be able to read all of it, but if you're diligent, you'll read enough of it that you're no longer confused by what's taking place. I saw a bookseller on the promenade yesterday near the art museum and talked to him, and we both laughed and shook our heads and rolled our eyes and lamented the fact that nobody reads books. At one stage of my life, when I was really deep into some of my really great adventuring, this would have been, I remember the period in '96 when I was in Peru, when I wasn't training. I was down training with a professional team at the time. I would spend my time walking around Lima in Miraflores, going from bookseller to bookseller, looking for answers, looking for explanations, looking for clues about why the world was the way it was and what the hell to do about it. And so, bit by bit, you actually do find answers. But the decision in the West to throw out much of what was best about our tradition in favor of this progressive agenda, of course, will end very, very badly. And yet, by no means is it hopeless. These periods have to come, and things were great for a period of time, and now you have to pack your tent and move on and find, I think, better places that are on the way up, where not only is individuality, if not respected, then certainly left alone to do what it does, which is a lot of places. There's a lot of places in the world where you can be a free individual. No matter how bad the onslaught is in your home country, you can be left alone to do what you need to do, to enjoy yourself and develop yourself and cultivate your individuality. And it's worth it. On Lake Atitlán in Central America, I had the most unbelievable individual adventure for, well, close to a dozen years. And it took very little to do that. It took, most of all, it took the recognition that I was in the right place to do it.
Right now, you can join the Explant community for just $1. Click below to get all the details. Instead of passively obeying the lunatic decisions by cognitively impaired political hacks, we're building a future where international diversification ensures our freedom and prosperity. You'll get easy access to resources and contacts to help you structure your own international lifestyle, including how you protect your money outside the U.S. banking system, how to quickly get legal documents that allow you and your family to enter a friendly, welcoming, peaceful jurisdiction when trouble hits North America, where to invest in top-tier income-producing real estate, and much, much more. If you decide you want the convenience of private consulting, we offer that option too, but at a tiny fraction of what other so-called experts are charging. So you don't have to break the bank trying to protect your family and preserve your wealth in the chaos of the 2020s. Click below to get all the details and join the Explant community for just $1, and I'll see you on the inside.
More to come.